Cool. Good. So yeah, we'll wait till you give the all go, and we might have people in here. Yeah. How are you both?
Yeah, at least we have Alexei here, and I think that Alexei have has some questions.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I have a very brief introduction to everything with some rationale, and then most of the time, happy to just answer questions, help coordinate things, whatever is most needed. So we'll have plenty of time for that. How did the kickoff for the other femtech challenges go?
Yes, today we had the Q&A session with Rebecca, so everything is okay. And uh, so you are second one here.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so I can introduce myself, and I think we can start here. My name is Ira Evdokimova, and I'm responsible for all three female longevity challenges. And I'm really happy to introduce Nick. He is the founder of Life Ahead, and he's our mentor. And today, Nick will share us information about this quantifying the value of delayed ovarian aging challenge.
Great. Thank you. Okay, I'll get started then. Uh, all right. Hi, everyone. As Hira mentioned, I'm Nick. I've been working in the ovarian aging space for a number of years now, including a few years at the Buck Institute, the Center for Reproductive Longevity. And now I'm working on a project, a company called Life Ahead, to predict reproductive lifespan in women using mechanistic biology. I'm excited for anyone here to help tackle this crucial project that I'm presenting. Thanks for joining us. I'll share a little bit about the background of what we're doing and the challenge itself before we can get into questions. Okay, so as you are all aware, and part of the reason you're likely here is the fact that the science of longevity is critically underfunded and understudied, despite its enormous potential. But additionally, women's health has also been critically underfunded for decades now. And even further, as a subsection of women's health, menopause has been even more overlooked. Even in certain medical contexts, has been largely taboo to discuss historically. And so at the intersection of these multiple understudied fields lies a topic that as a result is almost entirely ignored, which is ovarian aging. So part of this neglect comes from the fundamental lack of understanding around the profound and positive impact that improving ovarian health or alleviating the effects of ovarian aging could have for women in our healthcare systems. But we're hoping with this challenge to change that a little bit. So a bit of background on menopause and aging itself. So it's not incredibly well known, even amongst the aging community, that ovaries age faster than nearly every other tissue in the body. They could be considered a canary in the coal mine for overall aging of sorts. And this is why menopause timing is a very strong predictor of a woman's overall lifespan. The timing of the menopausal transition and menopause itself have significant impact upon overall health and mortality. And there's still insufficient research into why that is. But one major part of that puzzle is the direct health consequences of menopause that we do have evidence for. So the end of ovarian function due to the organs aging is a direct cause of menopause, is a critical tipping point in female health span. So aging accelerates after this time, and the timing of this transition is directly linked to the onset of a number of diseases, major diseases of aging. And so essentially, the earlier the menopausal transition occurs, the sooner and more often many diseases tend to appear down the line. Some of these are extremely well characterized, which is going to be the focus of this challenge. Diseases like cardiovascular disease, incidence of stroke, osteoporosis and associated fractures, which are actually a very major driver of rapid health span decline in age. And there are even some indicators for increased risk of neurodegenerative diseases like dementia, along with all the other health consequences listed here. There's a lot out there. So if the biological stakes are this high, why isn't more being done? And that gets me to the thrust of this challenge. Part of the reason is because we have failed to truly quantify the opportunity. Despite millions of women reaching menopause every year and billions already being spent on menopause-associated care, essentially management of symptoms, we have yet to answer the question in any way, really, what is the societal health return on investment for research that would extend ovarian health span or delay menopause? Unfortunately, in today's world, just being good for society isn't enough to drive investment, right? So without a robust or data-driven answer here, the field remains a bit of a blind spot for investors and researchers. So that brings me to the mission. That gap is something we're hoping to bridge with this challenge. So clearly articulated value can help drive actionable investment here. So ample isolated data exists across the medical literature on the health consequences of early menopause. And the task here is going to be finding the signal in that noise and developing a comprehensive health economic model, quantifying the value of if we were able to delay ovarian aging. And this will be a crucial piece of ammunition to essentially prove to the world that this is a problem worth solving and investing in. Okay, so a brief overview of the approach. We can go over questions in a bit, but I'll give you this big picture. The approach essentially will involve the team scraping, selecting, and importantly, prioritizing the best literature on disease risks with menopause and the transition, and then consolidating all of this information into a single metric or as few metrics as possible to serve as a model of health. This will be cross-referenced and combined with data acquired on healthcare costs to build a estimate of economic and health savings. So suggested methodology is presented here. There's a lot of flexibility here. I am not the AI expert. Presumably you are, but some suggestions are the following. You could build a data extraction process by connecting to APIs, parsing these PDFs, and storing everything as structured XML. Create an entity recognition to identify the relevant diseases, risk factors, and the important statistical measures here. Extract all of those and calculate confidence scores to prioritize for review. So identifying which papers are most reliable, have the best data, essentially doing a little bit of a meta-analysis here. And finally, core to this is building some sort of visualization, a dashboard, a report, something that shows the metrics, the accuracy, and presents the data in a legible format. Because again, key here is to have a product that we can show to investors and stakeholders to help convince them that this is a key area for funding. Some sample agents. We have Grobit agents to handle document parsing. BioBERT extracts data from biomedical entities. Spectre to generate embeddings for semantic search. But again, all up to you as the experts here to decide your approach. And finally, your judgment criteria, which we can discuss in more detail. If you have any questions, happy to answer questions. These will include not only your ability to complete the task, but the defensibility and rigor of the methodology. So as important as getting these final numbers is being able to justify how you got them. Just basic science there. And also judgment on the chosen method of presentation of the findings and data. Again, up to you, but whatever is best for communication of the information that you have identified. Some very brief supporting information here. So computational credits are available from Nebius at this address. You can use the code HACKAGING. Our stop date is October 22nd at midnight Pacific time. The prize money, sponsored by our company Life Ahead, is $2,500 US. And the way this is going to go engaging with me and the challenge leads is primarily asynchronous on Discord. We're going to make ourselves available as much as possible. I know people are all around the world, and so we want to accommodate that. But I've scheduled also the availability to do check-ins on 3 separate dates prior to the end date. And again, because people are around the world, I recognize that timing might need to be adjusted as necessary. So reach out to the challenge leads to organize these calls at to find the most convenient time for everyone. And what you're to submit at the end is a video explanation demonstrating your solution, what you've put together, as well as the code repository and a bit of a report on what you did. And that brings me to answering questions, if you have any. Yeah, let me stop a share screen here so that we can see each other.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nick, for such a great presentation of the challenge. And so, guys, now it's time for questions. Who would like to start?
Sorry, I'm having trouble getting out. There we go. Alexei has a question.
Yeah, thank you for presentation. One question about the. Thank you for your presentation. You can hear me? Yes. One question about the data sets and the models which can describe dependence, some type of decrease the velocity, the rate of the transition to the menopause and the market and some clinical results. For example, the declining of the aging-related diseases and so on. I think it's one difficult point about the relation between the clinical and the economical metrics. If you have the examples of different cases of this connection?
Yeah, let me make sure I understand the question correctly. You're asking about being able to draw reliable and accurate comparisons between identifying a disease and the associated healthcare costs. Making sure.
Correctly.
Okay. Yeah, no, completely understood that there's not a single metric for that. There are some resources that I provided in the kickoff details that you can use. The focus here will be on the US just because it's simplest and is the largest market for this sort of thing. I guess the point is acknowledge that there's not going to be a perfect answer for this, but these sort of analysis don't need a perfect answer. If you can justify where the cost came from and it's ballpark, maybe even a median cost, that is going to be sufficient.
Clear. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Anna, go on.
Yeah.
Anna Chechenina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me well?
Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. So I've got a question about the challenge on menopause prediction. So we've got 2 challenges, this one and another one. And so what are the conceptual differences between them? So there, as I understood, it will be more focused on biomarkers. In here, it's more like a meta analysis of the data we already have published. Am I correct?
Yeah, so I'm lead of this challenge. I have a superficial understanding of the other challenge. The main distinction is, yes, this is going to be using literature data that's already published, consolidating it, meta-analyzing it, and providing essentially a metric that has not been produced before on health consequences of delaying menopause, essentially what reduction in disease risk we would see. The other one is a bit more it's using published data sets that you can find to map symptoms of the menopausal transition a bit better and identifying biomarkers of that transition that may be relevant. I don't know. I mean, maybe Ira can provide a bit more context on the specific structure of that, but that is the big picture.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I think, yeah, you're right.
All right, thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if there aren't any other questions right now, I have a couple points that'll be important for this about the science and things that will be important to take into consideration for the challenge that might head off questions before people start digging in. So I'm quite familiar with the data set or the data out there and how it's structured. One of the main difficulties of this is going to be the heterogeneity of how menopause is bucketed. So a lot of the papers you'll see out there are risk of cardiovascular disease if you hit menopause prior to 45 versus after 50, or in like 3-year buckets. But these are not standardized, and developing a rationale for when to consolidate them, how to combine them, will be key to this and is one of the hardest parts of this and why it has not been done before. So that's one point. Again, happy to answer questions wherever necessary to help prioritize and identify what the best approach to that is. This hasn't been done before, so we're going to be doing some blue sky things here. One thing that's important for presentation of the data is it's probably not very necessary for the data analysis and extracting data, but one key point here that you might encounter is that we are trying to delay we are trying to get information, and ideally, if therapeutics do emerge, they would be addressing the menopausal transition, not menopause itself. So the menopausal transition is where the years prior to menopause, when the body goes through more irregular cycling, hormone fluctuations. And so this is the thing that we are trying to alleviate and delay. Otherwise, to some people, you might imply you're delaying menopause and therefore just extending the transition period, where this period of irregularity can be tough for some people. So just keeping that in mind for communication purposes. And then there is the concept of hormone dosing. So the duration of a woman's reproductive years corresponds to her lifetime exposure to endogenous estrogen. So longer exposure to estrogen is protective for bones, heart, and the brain, a variety of other organs. That's where a lot of these benefits of delaying menopause come from. But because of a higher dose of estrogen, there are also some smaller negative health effects, like increased risk of breast cancer. Ideally, we would focus on the net disease burden to be most comprehensive. The negative effects of early menopause far, far outweigh the positive quote unquote effects, again, like a slightly reduced cancer risk. But if we want to be comprehensive and usable by scientists down the line, we should take into account the possible negative effects as well, just to provide a full picture. Yeah, those are the key points I had that you might encounter down the line. I can just envision someone going to look at cancer risk papers and being like, this is the opposite correlation that I expected. Yeah, any other questions? I imagine there'll be more after you dig into it a little bit, but I'm here now.
So yeah, Alexei, please go ahead.
One question. If you have you had access to the most famous UK biobank data set, which contains different types of biomarkers and so on, and the hormones and blood biomarkers. If possible to access during the hackathon period, this not open access data set.
Yeah. No, that's a great question, and kind of why I framed this challenge the way I did. The UK Biobank has an enormous wealth of data, but it requires a long timeline and a very defined research proposal in order to access that data. That is not feasible within the time frame of our study, and I'm not even sure it's feasible outside certain academic contexts necessarily. However, the UK Biobank has been used to develop to publish papers on these risk factors before. So this challenge is framed the way it is, so you can use published risk factors, published hazard ratios and odds ratios to combine those, as opposed to analyzing raw data sets from around the world, because those raw data sets are hard to access and require weeks to clean up anyhow. So yes, use the biobank publications, but we can't use the raw data.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as you know, it takes months to get the access to this data.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
for now it's impossible for us.
I already tried to get the permission to access, but it's very difficult for me.
Yeah. Even I've worked in academia before. I work with professors in my company. Even with academic IRB streamlining and professors who have done this before, it can take months. They say it's public, but it's very, very restricted still.
By the way, Nich, could you please tell us a bit more about Life Ahead? What's your main focus?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you for that. So yeah, I'll give a bit of background on myself and provide the context of how I started this to give a bit more framing. I'm a PhD scientist. I did my degree at UCSF. I worked more on aging of the brain at that point, but then transitioned that into a role at the Buck Institute, as mentioned, doing ovarian aging research and funding and identifying scientists in this space. Through that role, I met my current co-founder, who is my CSO, who's an ovarian biologist and works with mathematicians who are experts in stochastic processes in biology, to use that to develop a model of the decline in eggs in the ovaries, which is what the main driver of menopause. Menopause is essentially the depletion of ovarian follicles to the point where there's no longer cycling. And so we are commercializing this technology. We are currently in the process of going through the FDA approval pipeline. And so this will be a clinically validated tool once we pass that process, that we'll be giving to at the start fertility clinics and OBGYNs to work with their patients to provide better recommendations on treatment plans, to essentially the main goal is to have better capabilities for life planning going forward, balancing family, career, if you should do egg freezing or not, things like that. Because the current status quo is there isn't really information other than a test that you can test essentially whether you're on the precipice of perimenopause or menopause. There aren't tools that can give you longer range information to sort of have better planning capabilities. So yeah, we're in the middle of commercializing that. You can check out our website if you want to get informed about when we're launching. FDA process takes a little bit of time, especially with the US government the way it is right now. But we hope to have that out and available to people as soon as possible.
Okay. So thank you so much, and thank you for preparing this challenge and giving the presentation, and also offering the prize. Thank you so much for this, guys. Please maybe probably someone would like to ask something.
There's no questions. I imagine people will be watching this video later on anyhow. So thank you for everyone's time.
Yeah, thank you guys. And if you will have any questions, please ask Nick or us on Discord.
I will also be, I guess, final thing, I will be dropping a document with a bit more details on what to look for and how to execute into the chat. And you can use that as a starting point.
Thank you. Thank you, Nich.
Thank you so much, Nick.
Thank
I
you
will
so
share
much.
the link in our Discord branch.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Bye. Bye, guys.